Welcome back to the Weekend Prime Time, and we begin this hour with Trump's ongoing efforts to grift the presidency, and it hit a new low this week as he hosted a private event for about 220 crypto investors who bought into his meme coin. Now, the function was dubbed the most exclusive invitation in the world. According to the New York Times, this elite crowd of guests included a crypto billionaire, a former NBA basketball player, and a lawyer who worked for Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. The mostly anonymous guests spent over $1 million each for a seat at the dinner, which is 500 times the federal election contribution limit for individuals. The dinner raises long-held concerns about the president and mainly that he is selling access and potential favor. Joining us now is Leah Littman, co-host of the Strict Scrutiny podcast. She's also got a new book out called Lawless: How the Supreme Court Runs on Conservative Grievance, Fringe Theories, and Bad Vibes. Also with us is Ken Vogel, New York Times political reporter. It's great to have both of you with us. Leah, give me your thoughts on this. Like this dinner, what's the quick takeaway on a surface level about the grift that Donald Trump is doing? When you look at what he has done in the Middle East with the Trump coin, with the contributions or the investment that the UAE made for about $2 billion in this coin, and now you have this dinner where people are basically acknowledging, it's about access.
Yeah, it's pay to play. It is giving individuals influence and access for purchasing meme coins, something with no inherent value. They're just for hype or entertainment. So it's just a massive wealth transfer to the president individually for the opportunity to sit at the table with the person who has the power to influence crypto policy, to loosen regulations on crypto. And these individuals might be able to count on being able to call up Donald Trump for a favor, a month from now, a few years from now, you name it. And it's kind of grotesque to watch it play out. It's almost like campaign contributions at this point are just for chumps and commoners because you can just blow past them by spending more than $1 million on these meme coins and get access to the leader of the free world for that price.
Ken, so we know some of the attendees who were there at this dinner. But I think one of the main concerns that Americans have about this ability for people to buy Trump's meme coin is that we don't know who is buying Trump's meme coin, other than those, I guess, who attended this dinner. How much transparency is there actually into who might be potentially influencing the president by lining his pockets through this crypto scheme?
Not a lot. That's one of the main problems here it's one of the main problems with crypto generally, but particularly when you have crypto as sort of a channel to influence a government official. Obviously, as Leah pointed out, the comparison to campaign cash is, there's a lot of differences there. Campaign contributions have to be disclosed. Even the unlimited contributions to super PACs have to be disclosed. Of course, there is dark money, but that's sort of, there's an independence between that and the candidate. And here you don't have that. You have Trump's name is very clearly on this meme coin, and he's very clearly associated with some of these other crypto ventures, including this World Liberty Financial. And the money is not, there's no pretense of independence. The money is not going into some campaign fund or a super PAC that cannot be spent, where there are rules that bar it from being spent on personal expenses. This is going directly into his pocket, or at least the pockets, the coffers of companies that are connected to his family that directly benefit his family, and we don't know who is giving. We were able to find out a number of the folks who attended because we went. Some of my colleagues went to Sterling, Virginia, where the Trump Golf Club is, and they watched people come in and were able to obtain or at least review some of the guest list, some of the folks who are on there, not necessarily by their names, but rather by their crypto wallets, and figure out who they were. But there's a lot of mystery, and it's sort of a puzzle. There's not the transparency that you have with the campaign cash.
Leah, I want you to take a listen to some sound. Our colleague Garrett Haake at NBC, he had the chance to question the White House press secretary about this. I want you to take a listen.
On the president's dinner tonight, will the White House commit to making a list of the attendees public so people can see who's paying for that kind of access to the president?
Well, as you know, Garrett, this question has been raised with the president. I have also addressed the dinner tonight. The president is attending it in his personal time. It is not a White House dinner. It's not taking place here at the White House.
I didn't know presidents work shifts when she says like he's attending it on his personal time. Does he have like a punch card that he punches in and out?
It was so ridiculous. Obviously, presidents don't punch out. It's not like he's Hannah Montana or something and leads this super secret life.
Once the wig is on,
right.
all on the table.
He's the same person. We all know it's Donald Trump. And we also know people probably aren't attending this dinner because of his winning personality. You can almost hear him being like Gretchen Wieners, right? I can't help that I'm super popular. We can all see what's going on here. But I think erasing this line between personal and political is part of what authoritarians do. You expand presidential power by using public office for private gain to advance personal retribution, personal vendettas, and that is all part of this story.
Ken, let me play for you, and rightfully so, Democrats are pounding on this, and there's a lot of questions about it, but whether or not it translates into political momentum in the midterms remains to be seen. And I want to play to you what Senator Elizabeth Warren had to say about it, and then I'll get your reaction on the other side.
Donald Trump's dinner is an orgy of corruption. Donald Trump is using the presidency of the United States to make himself richer through crypto. And he's doing it right out there in plain sight. He is signaling to anyone who wants to ask for a special favor and is willing to pay for it exactly how to do that.
So, Ken, give me your thoughts on that. Do you see this going anywhere with the Democrats? Does it give them or give the party fuel to be able to do something about it, either politically or in Congress, in the halls of power?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely riles up the base, and it's good for sort of mobilizing folks who are already opposed to Trump. I don't know that it's necessarily a winning issue for independents or certainly for Trump supporters. They've sort of, they've sort of made this calculation that this is who Trump is. And in fact, we saw Donald Trump Jr. speak to this and say that during the first term, they tried all these things to sort of put the business at arm's length, and the extent to which they actually did that, I think, is debatable. But nonetheless, he says that they tried to do it, and they're not going to try to do it this time because they didn't feel as if they got credit for it, and they were attacked anyway. So I don't think it's going to have any impact on the Trump family business, and whether there's any legislation that might move is it's tough to see what that might be given the Supreme Court decision on immunity for official acts. That said, she talked about corruption and what is corruption. Certainly you see how the Trump family is benefiting from this. Yeah. But, what do the folks want? What do the people who are on the other side of this transaction want? And we have a couple examples already. There's a guy named Justin Sun. He's a Chinese crypto billionaire. He was actually sued by the SEC during the Biden administration for manipulating the price of a cryptocurrency. Well, he's a major investor in World Liberty Financial, this other Trump sort of crypto-oriented company, and he was the top buyer of the meme coin. Well, guess what? The SEC asked a judge to put that lawsuit on hold. There was another guy, a Taiwanese an executive at a Taiwanese crypto company who attended, and they want approval to enter the U.S. market. So you see the makings of the quid pro quo. You see what folks might want from this access, and I think that's certainly the more troubling thing, or one of the more troubling things to ethics, folks who are concerned about ethics here. That's not just that Trump is getting rich, it's that he has the ability to influence U.S. policy through the SEC, through the DOJ on cryptocurrency and on, and on these types of policies. And his administration appears willing to do that.
I'm old enough to remember Republicans when they were up in arms about Hunter Biden selling artwork, and everybody's like, oh my God, who's buying this artwork? They clearly don't want to buy the artwork because they like the art. They're buying the artwork for the access to the presidency. And I'm just stunned. I shouldn't be, but I'm repeatedly stunned by the hypocrisy of Republicans who are watching this grift happen in plain sight every day and are not saying anything about it. I mean, Tucker Carlson alluded to like possibly corruption about his trip to the Middle East. A few people like in the podcast bro world, but your rank and file Republican Party?
Well, same thing with the Qatari jet, obviously. But Leah, I want to ask you, I know this is going to sound naive to ask if this is legal or illegal, but is this legal or illegal?
Yeah, so I think that the Supreme Court has had a really horrible role in narrowing the reach of political corruption statutes, because basically what they have done is they have said federal laws prohibiting fraud or bribery basically only prohibit quid pro quos, where a businessman hands over $1 million and then the politician says, in exchange for these $1 million, I will vote for this law. The court has basically said influence and access schemes, even when they're purchased, those aren't corruption. That's just how government works. They describe this horrible case involving the former governor of Virginia, McDonnell, who received more than $100,000 in loans and gifts from a CEO of a company, hawked the company's product, made calls, arranged meetings. The Supreme Court said that's not corruption. Right? This is just the basic compact of representative government. Officials hear from their constituents and respond to their needs. So I think the court has played a huge role in normalizing schemes like this.